Idaho, 1921. A 14-year-old boy is plowing a field. Back and forth, row after row. The horses pull, the earth opens, and then he stops. He stares at the furrows stretching across the hill. Perfectly parallel lines, each one cutting through the dark soil in one direction. And in that moment, in a field with no electricity, no laboratory, no university behind him, PHILO TAYLOR FARHSWORTH sees television. Not as a dream, as a blueprint. He sees how a beam of electrons could scan an image, line by line, just like these furrows. He is 14 years old. He has never heard of a cathode ray tube. He has never been inside a research facility. He is a farm boy in Idaho. And he has just solved one of the greatest technological puzzles of the 20th century. But here is what they never told you. He will spend the rest of his life fighting to prove it was his. A corporation worth billions will try to erase him. The courts will vindicate him. And the world will forget him anyway. This is the story of the boy who invented tomorrow and nearly lost everything trying to keep it. If he did, you can too. Let's go back. Not to 1921. Further. To understand what PHILO Farnsworth disrupted, you have to understand what the world looked like before him. There was no television. Not bad television. Not early television. No television. Anywhere. For anyone. The year is 1920, and the living room of every family in America contains one thing: a radio. Radio is the internet of its age. It is everything. News, music, drama, connection. And it is owned, completely and absolutely, by one man. David Sarnoff, chairman of RCA, the Radio Corporation of America. Sarnoff is not simply a businessman, he is a force of nature, an immigrant who clawed his way from the streets of New York to the most powerful seat in American media. He believes, with absolute certainty, that the future of communication belongs to corporations, not to inventors, not to dreamers, not to farm boys in Idaho, to corporations. And Sarnoff has been funding research into television for years. Millions of dollars, the best engineers in the world, laboratories in New York and New Jersey. And they have nothing. Nothing that works. Because the problem with television, the fundamental unsolved problem, is this. How do you capture a moving image and transmit it through the air? The mechanical television systems being developed in the 1920s use spinning discs, physical rotating parts. They produce images so blurry, so flickering, so small, that they are essentially useless. The entire scientific establishment agrees on one thing. A working television system requires a purely electronic solution. No moving parts, pure electron beams. And nobody, not RCA, not the BBC, not any laboratory on Earth, knows how to build it. Nobody except a boy in Idaho who saw it in a field. PHILO grows up poor. His family moves constantly, Utah, Idaho, back again. They have no electricity until PHILO is 12 years old. But when they finally get it, PHILO devours it. He reads every science magazine he can find. He repairs the farm's electrical equipment. He teaches himself. At 14, the year of the Furrow vision, he approaches his chemistry teacher, Justin Tolman. and he shows Tolman his drawings. Pages of diagrams, calculations, a complete theoretical design for an electronic television system. Tolman looks at the drawings. He is a high school chemistry teacher in rural Idaho, and he understands, somehow, that he is looking at something extraordinary. He keeps the drawings. He will not know for 20 years why that decision matters. PHILO graduates high school early, tries to enlist in the Navy. His father dies. He is discharged to care for his family. He is 18 years old with a revolutionary idea and no resources to build it. He meets a man named George Everson, a community fundraiser passing through Utah. PHILO explains his idea over dinner. Everson later writes that he did not understand a single word PHILO said, but he understood the certainty in his eyes. Everson gives PHILO $6,000. $6,000, and the most important invention of the 20th century begins in a rented apartment in San Francisco. Now, before we meet the men who will try to take it from him, if this story is already landing for you, hit that subscribe button, because every Sunday we bring you another story of how one person refused to accept that the future belonged to someone else. If he did, you can too. Now, let's meet the machine that came for PHILO Farnsworth.
San Francisco,
1926. PHILO Farnsworth is 20 years old. He has rented a loft at 202 Green Street. He has Everson's money, a small team, and a bride, Elma Gardner, who everyone calls Pem. Pem will become something this story cannot be told without. She is his witness, his archivist, his anchor. The woman who will remember everything when PHILO himself begins to forget. September 7th, 1927. Inside the loft on Green Street, PHILO transmits the first fully electronic television image in history. A single straight line. He turns to his team. He says, "There you have it, electronic television." He is 21 years old. The patent application goes in immediately. And then, like a sound travelling across still water, the news reaches New York. It reaches RCA. It reaches David Sarnoff. Sarnoff sends his chief engineer, a brilliant Russian immigrant named Vladimir Zworykin. Zworykin arrives at the Green Street loft in 1930. He is friendly, collegial, asks excellent questions. PHILO, who believes in the open exchange of scientific ideas, shows him everything. Every component, every circuit, every innovation. Zworykin spends 3 days in the lab. On the last day, he picks up PHILO's image dissector tube, the heart of the entire system. He holds it, examines it, and says, "This is a beautiful instrument. I wish I had invented it." He returns to RCA and begins building it. What follows is one of the most consequential patent wars in American history. RCA files its own television patents based on Zworykin's work and claims priority. They argue that Zworykin had the idea first. In 1923, 4 years before PHILO's transmission. PHILO has no money. RCA has millions. PHILO has one patent lawyer. RCA has an army. PHILO has one thing RCA cannot manufacture. Justin Tolman, his high school chemistry teacher. Summoned to testify, Tolman walks into the courtroom and reproduces from memory the diagrams PHILO drew on his chalkboard in 1922. A 14-year-old boy's drawings, kept by a teacher in rural Idaho for over a decade. The patent office examines them. They rule, in 1934, that PHILO Farnsworth conceived of electronic television before Vladimir Zworykin. PHILO wins. Sarnoff does not accept this. RCA appeals, files new patents, attacks from every angle. They have a strategy: delay. Every year the case drags on is a year eaten from PHILO's patent clock. A patent lasts 17 years from filing. PHILO filed in 1927. The clock is running, and Sarnoff knows it. The pressure breaks PHILO. He begins drinking. The legal battles consume everything: money, energy, health. He has a son. The boy dies in infancy. PHILO collapses. He is hospitalized. PEM holds the company together. PEM holds PHILO together. And still, he does not stop. In 1939, RCA finally agrees to license PHILO's patents. It is the first time in the corporation's history that Sarnoff has ever paid royalties to an independent inventor. Let that land. The most powerful media corporation in America bows to the farm boy from Idaho. But the victory has a shadow. World War II begins. Consumer television production halts for the duration of the war. 6 years. 6 years of PHILO's patent clock, ticking in the dark. When the war ends, television explodes. 1946, 1947, 1948. Sets appear in living rooms across America. Millions of them. Tens of millions. The medium PHILO invented becomes the defining technology of the 20th century. And his patents expire. 1947. The clock runs out. RCA no longer owes PHILO Farnsworth a single dollar. The corporation that spent a decade trying to steal his invention is now free to use it forever. PHILO receives a one-time settlement, a number historians describe as grossly inadequate for the scale of what he created. He retreats, moves to a farm in Maine, then to Utah, works on fusion energy research, a project so far ahead of its time that it will not be validated until after his death. He struggles with depression, with alcoholism, with the particular grief of a man who changed the world and watched the world forget his name. July 20th, 1969. PHILO Farnsworth sits in front of a television set, his wife Pem beside him. On the screen, Neil Armstrong steps onto the surface of the moon. The image travels from the lunar surface, through space, to Earth, on a system built from PHILO Farnsworth's invention. Pem watches her husband's face. She sees something shift. PHILO turns to her and says, "Pem, this has made it all worthwhile." The vision came first. He dies on January 11th, 1971. He is 64 years old. His obituary runs in most major newspapers, on the inside pages, below the fold. In 1983, 12 years after his death, the United States Congress places a statue of PHILO T. Farnsworth in the National Statuary Hall, one of only 2 statues representing the state of Utah. The inscription reads, "Father of Television." Sarnoff's statue stands in the RCA building in New York. It calls him Father of American Television. Even in bronze, the war continues. Pause here for a moment. I want you to sit with something. What is the thing you built that someone else is currently profiting from? What is the system you designed that runs under someone else's name? What is the vision you had first that the world has not yet credited to you? Drop it in the comments, because you are not alone, and your patent is not expired. Now, Let's talk about what PHILO's story means for every builder alive today. So, what do we learn from PHILO Farnsworth? 4 lessons. For every creator, builder, and visionary living inside someone else's infrastructure. Lesson 1. The vision is the patent. PHILO had no laboratory, no university, no corporation behind him when he saw television in a field. He had a vision so clear, so specific, so fully formed that a chemistry teacher recognized it on a chalkboard and kept it for a decade. Your clearest ideas are your most defensible assets. Document them, date them, tell someone you trust. The furrow you see today is your evidence tomorrow. Lesson 2. Who you let into your lab matters. PHILO showed Zworykin everything. He believed in scientific openness. He believed good faith was universal. It was not. This is not a lesson in paranoia. It is a lesson in discernment. Collaboration is power, but access is a decision. Not everyone who asks to see your work deserves to see all of it. Lesson 3. The clock is always running. PHILO's greatest strategic error was not losing the court case. He won the court case. His greatest error was not understanding that Sarnoff's true weapon was time. Every delay, every appeal, every procedural maneuver was designed to eat the clock. If you are in a battle with a larger opponent, speed is your most important advantage. They can outspend you. They cannot outmove you, unless you let them slow you down. Lesson 4. The moon landing is coming. PHILO spent decades in depression, in obscurity, in the particular darkness of a man who knows what he built and cannot make the world see it. And then, on a Tuesday night in July 1969, the moon landing came. Your vindication has a date. You do not know it yet, but it exists. The question is whether you will still be present when it arrives. PHILO was. Barely, but he was. Here is my challenge to you. PHILO Farnsworth saw television in a field at 14. The world ignored him, robbed him, and nearly erased him. He kept building. What are you building that the world isn't ready to credit yet? What is the furrow you see that no one else has noticed? Keep the drawing. Find your Tolman. Build it anyway. Because somewhere in the future, someone is going to walk on the moon, on a device you invented. Don't let them do it without your name on it. This is the History Disruptors. Every Sunday, another story of how one person refused to accept that the future belonged to someone else. PHILO Farnsworth saw television in a field at 14. The most powerful corporation in America spent 20 years trying to erase him. He won in court. He lost in time. He watched the moon landing on his own invention. Justin Tolman kept a drawing for a decade because he recognized genius he couldn't fully understand. Pem Farnsworth held a company together, while her husband held himself together, because she knew what he had built was real. They all believed before there was proof. That is the only way it ever works. The vision came first. It always does. And if you are carrying a vision right now, something you saw clearly, something you cannot prove yet, something the world has not caught up to, you are not delusional. You are early. The vision came first. If he did, you can too. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to understand why the vision always arrives before the proof, 1 trillion doors is waiting. 3 doors, 1 frequency, the same field PHILO stood in, is available to all of us. We will see you next Sunday. Keep building.